Okay, fine. You make a mistake, but you learn from that. And if you're not learning from mistakes, switch careers. Because I can tell you right now, this business will make you humble real quick. The second you think you're freaking awesome, something comes along and proves you wrong. So stay humble, keep learning. Hey everybody, Josh here. I'm going to go a little off script. Typically I do something structured, but I saw this on Reddit and I just felt like I had to say something because I hear about this kind of stuff in real life and now I have it in writing. So let's just jump right into it. So there's a post on here from 3 days ago from FT Winners. Anyway, primary domain controller hardware failure, how to restore. Our primary and sole HP domain controller had a hardware failure and is not turning back on. This is an old server, so HP does not want to support it. We were in the process of replacing the server with the new Dell server as our primary and backup DCs. Unfortunately, there were no AD backups to perform other than shares. Is it possible to stand up another DC? What would be the negatives in doing so? I'm going to start off with, I understand you were in the process, and look, I want to start off with, I don't know the backstory here. Of course, I don't know the details, but just what I'm reading is kind of frustrating because I don't know when they were in the process of replacing this thing, but with Dell servers, I'm not sure about HP, with Dell, last time I purchased a server, you can only purchase a warranty to up to 7 years. So if you're doing proper IT planning in year 6, you should plan on whatever money that's going to cost to replace that server and allocate that in your budget. I don't know if this is a small business. Typically I see this kind of stuff in small business because, you know, getting small businesses to say, hey, set aside 30 grand has been a hard task in the past for me to convince a small business to do that. By the way, when I worked with small businesses, it was like back in 2016, 2015. And even then, when servers were like half the price that they are now, it was still hard to convince business owners to put that money aside. Regardless, if this was my environment and I had a DC running on hardware that was not supported, which means you don't have a warranty, you don't know how to fix the thing, you don't have another spare server in the back somewhere, guess what? Like, I'm sending the boss or the owner of the company saying, hey, you accept the risks if this thing dies, because I'm sure this person has now found out if that's your only domain controller, your whole business is down. Nothing's going to work. You can't resolve DNS. You can't get to any of your files. People can't log in without unplugging the network cable. This is just, and this is another reason why I'm just done with Active Directory. And that might come to a shock with some of you sysadmins out there, but I'm done with it because it's, for small business at least, it's a single point of failure. I'm over it. If you've got less than 20 people in your office and you don't have a ton of data on-prem, like, I don't know, a bunch of video files, show me the reason why you just don't go Entra ID and SharePoint and OneDrive. I get it. They're not the most perfect solution, but I'd rather avoid this nightmare and pay a higher price. Like, I get it. It's cheaper to be on-prem. I totally understand that. But in the long run, like, how long can your business withstand being down? That's another question to the owner. Because, like, if I'm sitting in front of a group of business owners and they're saying, well, Josh, how much is it going to cost me on-prem versus being in the cloud? And I have to tell them, yeah, it's a premium to be in the cloud. But my next question to them is, how much tolerance do you have with being completely offline and completely down? Is it a week? Is it a month? Like, what's the timeline? And most business owners are going to tell you, well, I don't want to be down ever. Well, guess what? That comes at a cost. And there's a website, I think it's called like, it's like the 999 calculator. Something like that. Yeah, uptime.is. So you literally can type in like, how many nines do you want to be up? And it'll give you a calculation of how much you're actually going to be down. Like, so if you're like looking at like something like Azure VMs to run your DCs in. Like, that's actually not like complete. There actually is a calculation of how much you'll be down. Like, they guarantee like 2 or 3 nines. I can't remember how many nines they guarantee. But if you're a business owner, you want to be up 99% of the time, you can expect to be down for 8 hours a year. So if you can see that right there, if they can deal with that, then great. You know, you can do your own calculation of like how much tolerance they're willing to be down and how much they're willing to spend. Because I can tell you right now with on-prem, I don't even think there is a 999 you can calculate, because there's power issues, there's air conditioning issues, there's also environmental. I've worked in places where the roof caved in and water fell on the server. Well, guess what? You're down. I mean, you got to call the insurance company. They got to come out and put a quote out, and then you got to buy all new hardware. You know, I hate to say it, but if it's a client that just doesn't want to be down ever, you're going to have to go to the cloud. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. I'm sure someone else has a different answer out there, but that's where I'm at. I also want to touch on, I've made mistakes. Lord knows I've made mistakes in IT, but having a domain controller go down and having the entire business offline, that's a pretty big mess up. And I don't know what discussions this person's having with this company, but if this is your first time and you're like, oh crap, okay, fine. And I would imagine, like, if this was me and this was like an oh crap moment, like stuff has hit the fan and you're posting on Reddit for a solution, I'm imagining it's not that big of a deal, although it sounds scary to me. Getting back to making mistakes, Lord knows I've made mistakes. If this was my first time and I made this mistake, slap on the wrist, okay, learn my lesson. If this is your second time making a major mistake, I hate to say it, but you might want to look at the first comment. No backups, no second DC, switch careers. I mean, he or she's kind of not wrong. I have heard some serious mistakes from IT guys. One mistake I heard was someone left a VPN server open to the internet and didn't patch it. Well, they got into the VPN, deployed ransomware, and the entire company lost everything. I don't even know if they recovered from it. I don't think they did. And that was a single DC as well. Took out the whole DC, the whole business offline. I myself have made mistakes. I configured an entire campus, not just a building, a campus of switches with, you know, trunks, lags, VLANs, you name it. Guess what I didn't do? I didn't save the configuration after I was done. And anyone here that's a network administrator knows exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't save the config, it does not, once the switch reboots, it loses everything. Not only did I not do that on just one switch, I did that on every switch, all 5 switches across the campus. And this was a major business in my local area. Well, I got everything done. I walked away. I was like, everything's up. Wi-Fi's up. Great. Walked away. I think it was like a week and a half later, major storm comes through. Power goes off throughout the whole city. And I get a call from that business going like, we are completely down. Power's back up, but nothing's wrong. I log in to the network through the firewall and I try to SSH to the switch. Nothing. Telnet to the switch, admin worked, which told me, oh crap, everything's the default settings. And that moment, I was just so pissed at myself that I forgot to do right mem on everything. Now, granted, that was my first time ever doing a major campus like that. Usually I do like 1 or 2 switches. This is like one of my first IT jobs. So, okay, fine. You make a mistake, but you learn from that. And if you're not learning from mistakes, switch careers. Because I can tell you right now, this business will make you humble real quick. The second you think you're freaking awesome, something comes along and proves you wrong. So stay humble, keep learning. I can tell you that right now. Now, if I was in this person's shoes and I had no domain controller and they were like, hey, let's restore, guess what? Don't restore. Go Entra ID. Why not? This is the perfect time to do it. Now, if you've got hundreds and thousands of computers, maybe not, but I would imagine if you've only got 1 DC, it can't be that big of an environment. Maybe 100 people at max. If it's more than that, switch careers again, because if you've got that many users relying on one single server, I just find that incredible. Like, you should have a secondary DC. And look, okay, let's say you want to have a secondary DC. Okay. And the company's like, hey, I don't want to pay for that. Well, if you put it in the cloud, you can make a pretty good argument, be like, hey, you don't have to buy new hardware, but we're just going to put this in the cloud. You'll have to create a VPN connection. You can use that through Azure. There's a built-in Azure VPN service you can use. Networking in Azure is pretty freaking cheap. I mean, we're talking like pennies a day. I mean, it's for my experience. I have not had to spend a whole lot of money on networking. It's storage and VM compute. That's where all the money is spent. And if you do a reservation, you're going to be looking at like a 60% savings on compute. So let's say you do like a B series or a D series in Azure. You're going to be looking at anywhere from like $1,000 to $2,000 a year just for the compute. That doesn't include the OS disk, but if you're talking about a DC controller, I've had DC controllers running on like 80 gigs. Like they just don't need a whole lot of storage. So I would behoove this person to really look into not enabling Active Directory if you can avoid it. Use Intune all the machines, migrate everything over to SharePoint. It's easier than you think. And I plan on making a video about this, about being proactive. This is part of the reason, because again, I don't know this person's skill set, but let's say I was their manager and I said, hey, we are not going to go back to Active Directory. I want you to Intune everything, put them in SharePoint, connect everything to OneDrive, the whole shebang, right? Completely in the cloud. And their answer back to me is, I don't know how to do that. Well, I get it. It's hard to keep up with trends, but Entra ID and Azure and all that stuff has been out there for years at this point. And you haven't touched it at all. And now you're going to watch the video. You know, I guess we all have different priorities, but this is why if you're trying to stay on the top of the food chain in IT, keeping up on current technology trends is pretty important, because you run into situations like this where you need to make almost split-second decisions and you don't know what the possible solutions are. Because yes, getting back to where you were, that might seem like the clearest solution, but what if there was another option? You know, if you'd like to see more Reddit reactions, let me know in the comments below. I see this kind of stuff all the time. I don't really say anything, but sometimes I'll call my buddies up and be like, dude, can you believe this? Like, I can't believe it's still a thing. Anyway, not this one in particular, but other ones that I've seen. But, you know, put your comments down below. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I'm just telling you what I would do as if I was in this person's shoes, without knowing all the information. Anyway, I hope this person was able to recover and get their stuff back online, and that they learned a lesson from it, at the very least, either the customer or themselves. Doesn't matter either, because the customer's also going to learn too. If you're not going to spend money in IT, well, you're just asking for trouble. Unfortunately, we live in a world where you got to spend money. Well, if you found value in this, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And until the next one, guys, see ya.